edge. Eli Manning stays on his feet. It is caught by
Tyree. Welcome back to Catch the Moment Podcast. It's your host, David Tyree. Super excited. Got another dope episode, another dope friend. Hey, I promise you, we got this New York City grit, grind, and glory today with my friend Mike McManus. What's going on, family?
What up, what up, what up? Thanks for having me.
So of course, we got a little check-in. I needed it, man. We got the fashion. We got the New York City background, aroma. We're going to get into a lot today. And obviously, you just have a dynamic story in general, very authentic. And that's really what allows anybody what I really believe to be successful. But before we do that, I need a helmet catch story, bro. Where were you? What's your memory? Give me where you were when you saw it. What was your thoughts?
I was in a bar. Definitely in a bar. Definitely in a bar. It was probably a little, and I feel like, I was thinking about this, I feel like a couple of my homies left. Yeah. Like they bounced, and I'm like, how you gonna leave doing one of the greatest games in the whole world? And then that happened, and I feel like, I don't know if I might be exaggerating. I feel like chairs were flying in that bar that I was in. Yeah. It was nutty. Like, it just went off. It just went off on some, like, next level. Like,
what borough was you in?
I think I was in the Bronx. I must have been in the Bronx. I must have been in the Bronx. Yeah. And people were just going nutty, bro. It was wild. And I was like, see, these people, how could you leave? I think I was probably texting people like, you see, tell you not to leave.
I was telling somebody, I'm like, only thing I wish could have happened, it couldn't have worked out any better for me, for this Jersey kid, right? But I just wish I could have seen what the streets was looking like in the city, in Jersey, that night.
Yeah.
Because it was...
It would have been wild for you to be there, though.
The parade was crazy, of course, and all that, but it was just like, man, I wonder what it looked like right there in the moment. But, super dope, man. So let's get into just background. Where you from?
From New York. My ethnicity is New York. That specifically tells you more than anything about my background than anything else.
Yeah. It's just the greatest city in the world for a myriad of reasons, not just capital, fashion, finance, media, blah, blah, blah. But, when you think about being knitted to the fabric of this city, I mean, on your resume, we got, union, we got fashion, we got jewelry, but ultimately, even in your life resume, you got an overcomer on a major, major level. Yeah. So talk a little bit about your formative experience, whether it was, childhood. What were the things that kind of made you uniquely you as you were developing and finding your way in the city?
Growing up in the Bronx, and just very Italian neighborhood, working class. My father was a steam fitter in the union.
Steam fitter. What is a steam fitter?
The reason why you got AC and heat in here.
Yeah.
That's what they put in. And driving around with my dad, and he would be like, I worked on that building. But when we drive through Manhattan, I'm like, my father built this city, Like, that's what's up. My mom was a teacher. Yeah. And, they just were very like, they did everything for their kids. And, but, you went out on the streets in New York.
Out the streets, bro. It was, listen, I'm 43, so.
Same man.
So
we was out there running around in the 90s, getting in the schoolyards, this and that. I was into graffiti, wound up getting arrested for graffiti, into hip hop, all that stuff. And then
you hit trains or you just hit buildings?
I think I was a little after the train era.
Okay, gotcha.
A little after the train era. Yeah. Like the train tracks, like the Amtraks I would hit. Yeah. But once I got popped for that, I was like, my mom was like, please don't ever do it again. I'm like, all right, bet. I can make you one, Yeah, and just growing up in the Bronx and just being in my neighborhood, being in the schoolyards, being formed to that whole culture and everything like that. Got into drinking at a young age, drugs at a young age.
Me too. Yeah.
For no, it wasn't like my dad was being me. It was just like, I found like when I first tested it, I was like, oh, word. I could be that unique me that I am now without it back then. And that's what I realized, because you couldn't do certain things. You couldn't act certain ways. You'd be like, and which I always bring up too, like a love of mine, I do florals now. But growing up in the Bronx, You can't be like, yo, I like flowers, fellas. Like, get the, you know what I'm saying? Like, and yo, hiding all these things, you know what I'm saying? Not being able to cry.
Yeah.
Yo, and I'm still a very emotional man. Like, you know, and it's okay to cry. And like, so with having to kind of navigate all that, I found that alcohol was like, ooh.
Yeah.
That was like the secret formula for me, you know, and very, very quickly it kind of like put me in a place where I was known for that. That's what I did. I would fall down. I would be the one that they wrapping up in a tablecloth, bringing me to my mother's house, you know, and drugs at a very young age. And I was thinking about it now too, because like, you know, with mental health now and like thinking about certain things, like, why do I think like that? I was doing acid at 16 years old. I look at 16-year-olds now, and I'm like, you're a baby.
You're a baby.
I was standing outside bodegas asking people to buy me beer. Who was buying me beer when I looked like a baby?
Listen, bro.
You know? That was a lot of it. You know, I love going down to the city, downtown Manhattan, copping gear. That was my first, like, fashion experience. I would love, like, you know, the way I grew up, the way that hip-hop was back then, you wanted to rock something nobody else was rocking.
You had a real chance to be original.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I would go down to Canal Street. I would go down to like Broadway, right? Broadway from 8th Street to Canal was just like tons of shops. Yellow Rat Bastard. Yeah. The store called Fat. Rubber Soul, where I was copping Echo when it first came out, and they used to give you a mixtape. Yo, they used to give you a mix. I still got them mixtapes before he even changed his name, because he had to change the name. Yeah, it was ECHO, and then he changed it to the K, and I had gear. I just got back a piece of gear from an old girl. It says 1997 on it, and I'm like, oh. So that was my first whole, like, I would come back to the neighborhood and be like dipped in all this gear that, yo, where you got this? Where you went? And I would go on solo missions. Man. And I love, and yo, up until, you know, later on in my life, when I first moved out, I moved to East Harlem. Okay. I wanted to be in Manhattan. I had connections to East Harlem. My Italian grandparents grew up there. Yeah. There was still a couple little old Italians around. Yeah, little tradition. I actually wound up finding an apartment, literally getting off the train and being like, yo, I got a few days where I'm just going to roam around the neighborhood where I want to live and see what's popping. Pray, God, which way? Walk that way? I bet. I see some old Italian guy in the corner smoking a cigarette. I'm like, yo, is there an apartment around here? He goes, yeah, right here. Calls the girl down, shows me the apartment. I'm like, yo, I'll take it. Turns out.
These are the good old days.
Yo, turns out the guy who owns the building just got home from doing 30 years. His wife and my grandmother were best friends growing up. He goes, your chick's grandson? Oh my God. So like, you know, to talk about the New York experience as a whole, like, you know.
You rapped in it, bro. You rapped in it. Like, yeah. I'm like, that's kind of me in Jersey. We clearly have a similar story. It was alcohol, 14, you know, bud, 15 for me, and same type of stuff. My mom used to buy my alcohol. So just, you know, like when I'm looking at my kids, I'm raising kids, I'm in Christ, they'll never have the experiences, and obviously we're at a different measure, but totally different time though. Like just, we were latchkey kids. We was out here in these streets, not in these cyber streets, you know what I'm saying? So it's a totally different world, bro. Yeah. So, like, all right, so we talk about surviving, right? I tell people I survived certain things that I would never want my kids to endure, right? So, but what do you feel like you were uniquely equipped with in relation to, you know, as you're evolving? And I really want to understand, like, okay, at what point does this really click for you? Like, yo, you know, not only overcoming the obstacles with substance abuse, alcohol, et cetera, but what does it click for you professionally? Like, man, I'm good at this. I'm good at this fashion thing. I am an artist. I am a creative. Yeah. You know, like as you were navigating some of these challenges in your formative years, you know, just creating that unique identity in New York, when do you kind of begin to land that plane? I think that it was always part of my life. Okay. Like one of my favorite lines from Picasso is, you know, all children are artists. Artists are the ones who just continue. Right? What kid doesn't put drawings on the fridge? And I just never stopped. It just kind of went to different forms. So I wrote all throughout high school. I actually got a scholarship to college for writing. I went for screenwriting. The graffiti was art, right? Yeah. Hip hop. I used to rise to perform, doing hip hop, this and that. And it was kind of just, all right, this format, all right, this art, you know, and really just, that actually was a constant throughout my life. When I look back and think about something that, man, my mother kept everything, bro. I have from kindergarten to college
collages, drawings, print work. I'm looking at it now like, yo, I did this when I was 8. It's fly. I'm gonna put it up in the show now and tell them I just did it. But really, all those things that you just talked about, though, when they converge, right? When I got sober, for the first time, it was like, what do you do, right? What do you do with your hands? What do you do with your time? It was like, yo, boom, had a sketchbook on me constantly. So all these like little, I want to be, I want to do, oh, maybe my drink. It was just like, now you got time. Now you got energy. So that's really when the visual art started coming into play, and I just had the time and the space and the mind frame to do it. And as I started doing it, not only did people say, oh, yo, that's dope. Yeah. But for me, it was a place of, you know, I did those things to escape, to feel like the real me. Being in that zone. It's funny, that cartoon that came out a few years ago, Soul or whatever, they talk about being in the zone. Okay. And it's like this mystical space, and really it's really like meditation. As I grow older and realize, especially now, like when I put that welding hood down and I'm working on a piece, it's like, wow. You could even be like, yo, I'm welding for God, or I'm welding. He uses that as a place to bring me out of the world, to have a little time with him. And as I connected all of that together, it really started becoming something that I needed to do.
That's super dope. You know, like what you talked about, even with the alcohol, because I can remember, it's just like everybody got a little bit of different story in relation to what their home life looked like, and how did you start drinking at that young of an age, or how did you, but at the end of the day is you're looking, how do I deal with rejection? How do I find a group of people? How do I find myself? And that substance becomes a form of self-medication or an escape from a reality that you might, you know, or an opportunity to enter into a space of comfort. Yes. It's really amazing to see that you actually, you know, as you move towards sobriety, what was the breaking point, right? So just not ignoring that, because obviously when you talk about, you know, for me, it was from 14 to 24, I'm a functional alcoholic. I'm a blackout artist. I never got deep. I never got beyond much marijuana, dumped a pill or something like that. But that was, you know, never got on it like that. Traditional athlete vices, I call them. But for you, what was the breaking point where you just like, I need a new life? And obviously on the other side of that, you came into, you know, major stability.
I think there's 2 major points in my life. Number one, you know, I was running with a crew, man. We was doing drugs, selling drugs, using drugs. And one of my mans shot and killed another one of my mans, put 2 in his head. And I was sitting in that same, we used to go to this little parking spot and smoke blunts. And I was sitting in that same parking spot with the kid who got killed the night before. And I was just like, that could have been me. Man. And yo, my whole life I was on some deathbed theory. I heard Bart Simpson was like, yo, I'll just live my life I want on my deathbed, give my life to God, I'll go to heaven. I was like, yeah, I'll do that.
Oh, snap.
So when he got killed, I said, he didn't have a deathbed. And I wouldn't have either if I was with him the night after.
Deathbed theory. You know, listen, how many people really rocking?
Yeah, that's how they live their life. And like, it's crazy to think about now. Now I'm a Christian, and now like God speaks to me through visions because I'm a visual person. I had a vision that day of him standing before the throne, and God just being like, I don't know you. And I was like, whoosh. Yeah, I found my Catholic Bible, I pulled out, dusted it off, and I was like, yo, I need to know who God is now. It was urgent.
Wow,
and good. As I started reading that, you know, I love the book of Revelation. I'm out there doing hallucinogens every other day, so I'm like, dragons, fire, this is...
Listen, folks be shrooming their way to the... They think they're shrooming their way to the throne these days.
I wanted to write a rap song about the book of Revelation. One day, walking to record, saw these dudes rapping about Jesus on the corner, and I was like under the 2 train on Pelham Parkway and White Plains Road, and I walked over there and I'm like, yo, I'm gonna blow their head up, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm gonna rock them. And we was rapping, and then an older gentleman was just like, you believe Jesus Christ? You believe God shed your sins? I'm like, it's like, say this prayer on me right now. Bang, right there. Got saved. Boom. It was that, and that night I was going out to a club and I had a battle.
Wow.
And I couldn't tear someone apart verbally because of this reverberating spirit. But what did I do? I drowned it in Heineken. And that's the story of the next 7 years of my life, right? And
so
then
you made a confession, just didn't have the virtue to kind of overcome
right back.
that
I was that, I went right back into the world. I didn't have a church, I didn't have family, whatever, to lead me. So that 7 years, at the end of that 7 years, it was suicide. It was just, that's it. That was the only viable choice. I have this Holy Spirit inside of me. Well, like I can no longer do these things.
Man, just living under that conviction.
And in a dark world, and I was just like, yo, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna kill myself. I called some girl who I was friends with. She was like, I'm coming there right now. She dragged me to church and, got involved. Not only church, but the next day, the Tuesday, she brought me to a small group.
Come on, man.
And that changed my life. And then out of that, I said, I'm going to AA. And that's when I started that whole journey of getting sober. And the more you just took that out, the Holy Spirit was like, now you ready?
Yeah.
Now you ready? Like recommitting myself and just, so that was the breakup. The breakup point came all the way down to I'm good.
So a couple moments. When I think about people overcoming, obviously, number one, the faith in the Son of God is, I tell people the only place you can find the truest sense of peace and purpose is actually in Christ. And peace is not this idea of tranquility. Peace is where there's no more conflict, right? Peace is the absence of conflict. And bottom line, whatever you believe or not, everybody's still wrestling with conflict. Yeah. And that conflict, we call it a sin, right? And it's the sin. And Jesus is the one that can end the conflict because he's paid the price for the sin. And it's a powerful dynamic. I said, man cave won't do it. Alcohol won't do it. Yeah. But everybody has a different journey to get to that place. Yeah. Now, in the middle of that, right, obviously you got people function at a really high level. They're miserable, but obviously you've had some practical skill sets, some practical jobs, even as you're pursuing, some of your creative gifts as an entrepreneur, as a visual storyteller, as an artist. You create jewelry. I'm like, oh snap, this dude got a whole lot going on. So talk to me about the practical, there's always in the creative world, and now the world belongs to the creative today, but in the creative world, there's always been this balance of, I got to pay the bills. Yeah. But so talk to me about some of your experience in that, because I know you've had this pursuit of that, but there's always the practical side.
Yeah. I think actually the jewelry is one of the things that become like, I'm doing all this metal work. I was doing these big sculptures and stuff like that. That might be one for very few people. Yeah. But something like that I just made for myself, now this could be something that is probably one of the best sellers I ever made, is this nail ring. Yeah. It's just a nail that I made into a ring. And, that's
freaking dope.
Folks connected with it. And that becomes something, this little bit of something that's like, you're going to get sales on that. But these big paintings, these big masterpieces of yours might not be something that is selling like that. Yeah. But also, the side hustle, man, the job, the little connecting with the right people to, I work with these guys now. I'm set building for the History Channel right now.
Super dope.
For 4 months. And not having my pride so much that it's like I can't take these jobs that pay the bills right now to be able to create these things that
so dope.
That gonna bring glory to God. And God told me, you gonna people that will never walk into church will encounter your art.
Excellent.
So, I kind of for a year or two was like, I'm just going, just art sales, that's it. Because 2020, actually, the art sales was like, blah. Yeah. Because people were sitting home like, my walls is empty. Yeah. So that really, and then the next year, and you're like, okay, maybe I can't do this. But you start talking to real artists that I looked up to. Sure. I'm a teacher. Y'all do this. So also doing workshops.
Excellent.
It's really been
so much game.
Not only you make bread from that, you're getting a check for it, right? Sure. When you do the work, but man, just like being in that space with people, it opens up your creative places and hearing from people that are brand new and like, I'm not an artist, but and then seeing what they create and you're just like, what? Doing a lot of floral workshops with the Hudson River Museum. Mm-hmm. Once I got into florals, it was like people loved it. And fantastic. I think it was because I did it in a way that, like I said, I wasn't comfortable enough to say I was into flowers until I was 40 years old. And it was during the pandemic, and I started making arrangements just to be happy at home. And I was like, yo, I'm a straight male who loves flowers, and that's it. Yo, I don't care. You know, and like all of a sudden people like, but the way you do flowers, the way you paint flowers. Wow. And it became something where it's like, I'm a metal worker, and I'm doing these little arrangements with the stuff that's around my studio. So actually the florals were actually something that kind of got a lot of jobs off of, and I wound up doing the cover of Ebony magazine with Busta Rhymes doing my florals for flowers, because he was like, they talking last minute, and I know somebody on the team, and they were like, yo, last minute. They called me like 1 a.m. like, yo, Busta Rhymes wants flowers. Can you get it done tomorrow, 1 p.m.? Could you have this whole set? I'm like,
that's dope.
And like, you know, I'm driving in, I'm just like,
we're
gonna do it. Like, you know, and all these little things add up to that, right? If I wasn't doing all these workshops, if I didn't already have connections with so it's like, you know, do not despise this day of small beginnings. It's like,
come on, bro.
You know, I'm doing these little workshops at this, man.
They catching that gym, man.
I realize over and over, these little things that you do will always build up and get you ready for the big thing, because God's not gonna give you the big thing. He's not gonna give you the big load of fish if your net's broke. You know what I'm saying? He's not gonna do that. He's not gonna watch you sit there and be,
He's not gonna do that.
So make sure your nets is mended. You know what I'm saying? Like, strengthen and then those things will come. So I realized that being an artist is not just making art, not just being in the studio, and there's many different ways. So actually through the florals as well, I started making vases just because I needed vases. I'm a metal worker. I'm a sculptor. Yep. Why would I buy ceramics? I got all this copper and steel, and I started making vases, and people are like, what? Again, from a different angle, right? So it's like, how did this metal worker, construction worker, like, now you're making vases, and now that is more like design, right? Yeah. And now lighting, you know, my cousin's a big lighting dude, so get into that. So like, not, you know, I was kind of trying to sell myself into this, like, I'm a fine artist. Yeah. I'm just going to be alone in my hole, and like someone will come and discover me. Like, nah, bro, it's not going to happen. So the practical things is, you know, chip away at the little things. Yeah. The little things.
I tell people, if it's not practical, it's not spiritual. You know, if it's not practical, it's not spiritual. I say the only thing that makes something spiritual is that it's invisible. There's some glorious things about, you know, powerful moments, powerful expressions, or entering into a vision that you've put off, right? Like, that's what we believe to be the moment, but it's the practical steps, being faithful over what you have, that opens up the opportunity for you to come into that moment, right? We're talking about catching our moment. Boom.
You making that catch, bro. That didn't just, being in the gym, doing years and years and years, and then people see that, and it's the highlight reel, and bong, look at what he did in this one moment. No. It's years and years of training. So when you meet that moment, you can actually
take advantage of
the catch.
Yeah, like I said, I knew who I was. It got to a point where I knew who I was as a wide receiver on that team. I knew that, you know what, I'm the best special teams player in the league, but I can still play the receiver position. It's not working out, but I'm still that guy. So God just appointed a moment for me to secure my heart. Like, I got something for you that I'm going to do in one moment, but it's going to take somebody an NFL Hall of Fame career, 13 years to do what I could do in one moment, right? And it is very similar as I'm listening to your story, how he's putting all these skills, these things together, and people have to see the value in the process. That's how we enter into such dynamic experiences.
I mean, I would even go far to say it's all about. That's what it's actually even about. Yeah. That's what it's about. It's those moments of when you're in that process, and God is, many times I felt like he's tinkering in my heart.
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel like him working in there, like, and then your skill in your hand, and like, you start to, years later, you're like, I could just do it. I do these drawings called prayer language drawings, or drawing in tongues.
Nice.
Because the word says the Holy Spirit speaks in groanings which cannot be uttered. So people say that that's speaking in tongues, but it can't be, because it can't be uttered. Yeah. So I actually formed this practice of, and it started from just you're writing out prayers, right? And then you get to the end, I'm so frustrated. All I could do is scribble and years of, and now it's like, oh, whoa, it's actually moving through me. So I do these, and then, I do these big, gigantic ones that take me 3 seconds.
Really?
But it's because I did 400 of them. That my hand and my body and my spiritual connection could, boom, hit this in 4 seconds that you want in your living room.
Man, I gotta give me one of them.
You got that on some
big fire. Nah, but I love it, man. So like as we kind of focus on, I want to talk about this. You talking about. I mean, you mentioned even that unique opportunity with Busta Rhymes. You talk about these are like pivotal moments. These are moments where you've been chosen for something. But you also been very authentic with some of your testimony, even recently, where it's like, okay, whether it was an overestimation, you talked about having a relapse. Talk to me about these deflating moments and how you've been able to find that true sense of resilience, rebound, not just have confidence in your skills, your abilities, and your profession, but even confidence before God.
So yeah, like I was saying, after years of being sober and working on the street with a lot of people and just going through life, and
you've been serving this community of people. You're a ground laborer.
Yeah.
Could set the tip. Like, there's so many facets to your life that are so amazing to talk about. Like I said, I could identify with the community, but I'll be honest with you, like, God literally took the taste of alcohol out of my mouth. So I got one of those stories where I'm like a cheat code to the community, because the fight wasn't as intense, even though I was fortunate to overcome it. Yeah. But talk about this, because it's real and I respect every process.
Yeah, and I think that over time of just, feeling like I'm working for God, and I felt like a little bit of disappointment in certain areas, and allowing that disappointment to root in my heart, and actually just little by little just gets bigger and bigger. The lie gets bigger and bigger. And the question that you posed, though, how do you find resilience in these moments, or to come back up after these deflating moments and these falls?
Yeah,
man, not to have these falls to see God, but having all these oh, God loves me and does all this stuff because I do this.
Yeah.
When I'm at my lowest, and I have nothing, and I'm actually in the darkness, I'm actually running the other way, I'm close to death, and he shows himself faithful. It's that it shows you so much that even those moments can't do anything with the grace of God. Now I share in AA. I go to AA, I share there, and I can see people moved when I share about how God, I had nothing.
Yeah.
I was done. I was drinking myself to death a few months ago. And the little piece of me that I had left to cry out to God was like, you this big, amazing God, you this one that made the universe, you this one that people singing songs that you can heal in a moment. Where are you now? I need you. I have nothing.
Yeah.
Come and save me. And he plucked me out of this deep, dark hole that I could not get out of.
Yeah.
And it reminds me that, we have little slips here and there, little something, I'm sure. I just went to buy cigarettes the other day, and I'm like, oh man. And then I'm like,
don't do it,
I didn't buy beer, I didn't buy wheat, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So if we know that God could use anything, we let that little slip be like, all right, use this tiny little mess up.
Yeah. So
we can go right back. Use this tiny little mess up.
Don't use it as
Don't use it as an excuse to beat myself up to get to the bottom again. So,
thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
Even people who embrace faith, it's like, first of all, Christianity is a moving target. There's some things that are black and white, and then there's some things that are really convoluted and messy. And then there's the sovereign card, I call it. Like, God can do whatever he want to do. That doesn't mean that that's the way. There's and then there's us, right? So there's this big muddy water, but there is a certainty. There is a certainty in relation to who he is that deafens all of my weaknesses. And if I can just stay, if I can just abide with him, then things will be well. Yeah. And I tell people, it's like, if that part of your life is a real paradigm where people looking for God their life is anchored in Christ, he's a keeper. He's willing to keep us. It's just a matter like, what in me is unwilling to be kept in a moment, right? And I think that's the honest disposition that we find ourselves. Yeah. But I was so, it's brave of you to share that, because to rescue someone and then be the object of rescue after years of victory can, some people don't recover. Some people don't recover, man. So I just salute you, man. I just salute you as a child of God. I salute you as a human. I salute you as a professional. I know we were talking about moments, and I call the show, Catch the Moment. But for you, in relation to, some of the skills, the different unique opportunities, what is your defining moment? I'm going to ask you that question. And then what do you see as the mark and the obstacle? Because there's a lot of different value propositions under your umbrella. What's that target that you're looking for? So I know it's two questions, but what is your defining moment first? And then tell me, what's the target that, you see yourself looking for as an entrepreneur, as an artist, as a servant?
Like we spoke about, there's so much behind a moment. Mm-hmm. There's so much that builds up to that moment. But one of the biggest ones, I would just go with the most recent, is when I quit my job and was like, I'm going to be an artist full time. That's it.
Big time.
I have to. It was bubbling in me. It's these downloads I'm getting, and it's like you're not able to get it out, a dream deferred. What happens to a dream deferred?
Makes the heart sick.
So I had to, in that moment, when I had like $200 in my bank account, and I was like, I'm just gonna do it. I'm gonna make it work. I'm gonna make it happen. That same thing that I said that drugs and alcohol did way back then to make me be like, I felt like I was walking like that. I felt like I was just like, this is who I always wanted to be.
Yeah.
But a lot of the things that I did, studied mental health, did work on the street, did union work where I learned to metal work. Yeah. So now I have that in my pocket, right? Like if I didn't have all that stuff building up to that moment, that moment wouldn't have been, it wouldn't have had it might have just been a moment and not the start of a new life.
That's excellent. I love the way you said that.
And then you asked.
Yeah, man, it's really just about like, when I'm looking at those skill sets, what, when you think about being in this stage of entrepreneurship and being a business owner, what is the mark that you're shooting for? There's so much ahead. There's so much in store. There's so much value to offer. Like I said, you've served people in the streets. You've served, addicts. You've seen people's lives. What's the mark for you as you continue to consider your gifts, talents, and skills, and how God might want to, put that, alongside of your business?
Yeah, so creating and really believing that artwork now holds the spirit of in which you're creating it with, right?
Nice.
That's why I think I really see this design work, something that's going to be in someone's home. They're going to touch it.
Yeah.
They put this stuff on.
There's senses.
Right? So if I believe that the Holy Spirit is in these things that I create, why not be in homes, be in people's everyday life? And, even as simple as not even on the spiritual, but the practical, which is probably spiritual, right?
Which is spiritual.
You put me onto that.
Yeah.
I bought a bowl off some guy on the street that I eat my cereal out of. But it's a piece of art. When I eat cereal in the morning, I'm interacting with art and all these things that, they do studies and this and that, what art does for us and how it enriches your life.
Nice.
So not only spiritually enriching people's lives, but enriching people's lives with art, that when they're going through their regular everyday life, their light, their vase, their bowl that they have on their table is something that's now filled with the Spirit and also artistic. So going forward, I'm really, my business, we're starting to sell in other stores that already have these people who, gravitate towards these art, one of a kind art pieces for your home.
Yeah.
It's expanding on that.
That's dope.
Expanding, being in these stores that already have those people who are looking for that, And for that to grow on its own, and then also to be able to continue to do workshops, continue to, like at Celis's church, I did a workshop on that drawing in tongues that I was talking about. Yeah. Which I always was like, this is my thing. I see other artists doing something similar. What if Peter was like, no, yeah, I don't speak in tongues. That's me. Yeah. So I actually just put it out there. So, you know, encountering God through art, but also just, you know, enriching people's lives with art. Yeah. On a day-to-day, daily basis.
That's so dope. Because sports is a kind of like a humanistic art form, right? Like it's you got ESPN body issue. There's a side to it, but the creative side of art and being a creative, I'm like, I've always been moved by music. I don't do music, but I've always been moved by music. So I've always, like now you mature, I'm like, man, they having so much more fun. I get, because like I said, I'm a little more cerebral and base level, but I'm like, man, these jokers out here having fun. The creators rule the world, So it's really dope to see how, God has fashioned it in you, the comfort level that you have with knowing the value. Like I said, not just art, but the fact that there's a connective tissue to people's life and the use of it. And that's just really super powerful because it brings purpose, right? And at the end of the day, everybody is looking for peace and purpose. Who would you say, because, when you talk about, I'm big on ensuring that, people looking for success, looking for meaning, whatever, we start having these topics of conversation, no one does it alone. So when you think about, the people that, you feel like, whether it's God aligned or that's been a part of your journey and bringing you to this place of fruition and stability, who have been those people that have been, anchors for you along your journey?
I can't go without saying, some of the, just my best friends, just the men. The men that have been really close to me. My man Marcos, who is just, to me, that's what a man of God is, right? He's he's having a baby soon. He got married. He walked out what it means to be a man, and we met at church, and we just really connected, and he helped me through this journey. My homie Jamel, who we connect on so many levels, he's right there with me, and other men that we had a men's group that we just kept together for the longest time. We used to meet up for coffee, and then during the pandemic, we did it on Zoom. So all of those guys, people you could just go to and
really connect with.
Really, and when I say that God saved me out of that time in my life, he really used these people.
Hey man, see, this is one of my favorite conversations. Everything that God has done, he's done to people. And, especially this obviously only applies if you call yourself a Christian or you are a Christian. There's two different groups right there. Right? There's two different groups. Some call themselves and some are. But short story, some people get so jacked up with the idea that you have to have somebody in your life showing you things. Personal relationship with God doesn't mean exclusive relationship with God. Yeah. God, everything that God does, he does through a person. Yeah. He had to appoint somebody, no matter how holy and sacred or imperfect or jacked up, he appointed somebody to do something so that we can know him better. So I really just love that you talked about it, because as men, obviously, we can get off into isolated lanes. It's good that there's so many more conversations about, man, men need men. Men need, at the end of the day, all of my lack as a young man was because I didn't have the proximity of a significant relationship to show me how to be a man. Yeah. Which is really dope. Family, we never got into that. What's that look like, and how has you dealt with the stability or, the lack?
I always wanted to be a father and a husband. Yeah. My whole life. I just want to raise children the way I would. I feel like, a home filled with the Spirit, filled with creative stuff and all this stuff that I want to, build up. But, you got to find a woman first. You got
to find a righteous woman.
So
it's hard out here in these streets.
It has been. And that has also been a struggle in my life of, not taking the time and the season with God to prepare me Like, you know, in that first man that I mentioned, I remember his preparation season.
Yeah.
And him just being faithful to God and being with God and not dating a million people and not, you know, running around and trying to make it work on his own. And I felt like God wanted me in that season for a minute, and I was trying to make it happen myself. You know, I hit 40 years old, and I'm like, ooh, I gotta make this happen.
Yeah.
I gotta make this happen. I gotta get out here. I gotta get on these I gotta date. And, you know.
Has that been disappointing? I mean, like, because that's, like I said, especially as let's just say a man, definitely as a man of faith, it's something that every person looks forward to in general, even more so we see the richness and the meaning of it. And I know where your confidence is and how we deal with it, but has that been a blow? And, you know, like, how have you dealt with that from, just like I said, real man stuff?
Yeah, it definitely, for a season, I was very, very torn up about it.
Yeah, that's real.
Especially letting, you know, the one who got away, you know.
Oh, gosh!
You know, the ones maybe who got away. And like, just every time you look back and be like, wow, that was, you know, righteous woman of God, and I just wasn't ready, or I didn't do the right thing. I didn't play cards right. And yeah, for a season, it really tore my heart up. It really, really did.
Thanks for being honest, because I think we have to be willing to say that part. Like, man, I messed that up. You know, like, and, you know, God can redeem time, you know, help me not be a part of being in that conversation moving forward. But it's really dope that you were, you know, willing and able to share that, because we get the chance to help people. You know, we get a chance to evolve, you know, not just evolve, but like really grow, mature, because we don't get time back. Bro, we don't get time back, man. So, I mean, just what I'm thinking, I mean, it's obviously so much to talk about. I love every piece of your story, your heart. You got that New York. This is New York. My wife from Gun Hill, you know, so.
Oh, word?
Oh, yeah.
Not far. Yeah, I grew up not far from there.
Yeah, right off, you know, Allerton, you know.
Word, so. I live on Allerton, bro.
You live on it?
I live on Allerton right now.
Crazy. Yeah. So, you know, I always told her I saved it from New York City, you know.
Yeah, from the Bronx.
God saved it from sin. I saved it from New York. Nah, but what are you most excited about in this chapter? And just tell us a little bit more about where we can find your work, your you know, business, etc. And just as you're moving into this place of true stability, man, because, you know, your life is ripe. Even that honest season of relapse and then finding that hope, stability, and joy again. That everybody doesn't get that. You know, some people, you know, it's dangerous waters when we tread back into the muck and mire of poor decisions and past vices. So what are you most excited about moving forward? I know that, you know, like I said, you have that accountability built up. But what are you most excited about with your business, your life, and moving toward?
Yeah, absolutely. So Remnant Studio is the brand. That's the vases, the bowls, the jewelry. And I'm really excited about getting it out there, right? Expanding it, having it in people's homes. I have a couple art exhibitions coming up with that, and doing some collabos with floral designers. We're going to have an exhibition at Heath Gallery in Harlem. Believers, beautiful people I've connected with for years. And then also I'm really excited about my sober journey this time, because, you know, the 12th step is help others. Yeah. And I felt like I went there, I got my sobriety, and I was out. And I'm really looking forward to being someone to help people in that sector where I also need help.
Yeah, it's powerful.
So that, and like I said, Remnant I've been working on for a long time, man. And, you know, businesses, and, you know, especially when it's your baby. Yeah. You want everything to come out right and stuff like that. It takes a while, but, you know, the website is live now. It's remnantstudio.nyc. Nice. On Instagram at remnantstudio.nyc. And, just excited for that, and for the design work to expand into lighting, and, be in people's homes and enrich people's lives, man.
Bro, well, listen, I can tell you this, man. You know, people aren't as much, I really feel like, buying into just products. They're buying into people. And I think in relation to what God has done in your life, you know, your story is connected, is a connective tissue to what you're doing. Yeah. And you're going to continue to prosper, inspire, equip, and, you know, God continue to use you in dynamic, profound ways, you know, and outside the body. You know, belonging to God, you know, in the faith, there's so many ways, right, that we can find usefulness and utility, and Remnant Studios would be a big part of that, man. So I just appreciate your heart, your transparency. That's what we do here at DT3.
Yeah.
My company's DT3, Truth, Transparency, Transformation. And that's how we get great done, man, every single day. So I appreciate you, man. Your story's profound. Appreciate you for sharing it with us here today.
Thanks for having me, man. This is a great opportunity, and it was just great chopping it up with you.
Listen, that's what we do. And listen, man, this was a dynamic. There was so much life share, so much virtue. I don't want to let this episode go without encouraging everybody to follow those handles. Make sure you like, subscribe, do everything in relation to catch the moment, but make sure you take away the life of this journey from my man, Mike McManus. Grace and peace.